like to thank everybody for attending IWI's APS Sage 300 Payments Processing webinar. At this time, oh, by the way, this is Sean Fraser from IWI. At this time, I'm going to pass it off to Devin Lidhar and let him take over.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Sean. So I'm just going to quickly go through, let me see here. So I'm just going to quickly go through who APS is. I've kind of prepared a little bit of an agenda, but anyone on the call, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them towards the end. Just feel free to chime in whenever you get the opportunity, or you can just write it in the chat box. So to start, I'm just going to jump in and kind of give you guys some background around who APS is. We'll also be going through some common payment processing challenges, and that's really key because most merchants don't usually take the time to really understand what merchants' payment processing is and all the complexities that go along with that and how to choose a merchant service provider. And on top of that, exactly how all of that data will flow back into the accounting environment. I'm also going to be going through some of the things that are new and some of the things that we at APS think are really exciting, such as our APS Payments portal. You're also going to learn about how APS compares against some of our big name competition and banks that have really become just a little bit too familiar in the Canadian business landscape. Finally, we're going to walk you through next steps and go through exactly how you can use APS internally and how you can potentially get some cost savings from that. And along with that, I'm going to show you guys a Sage 300 integration demo. Okay? So we love to put up this slide, and I know the IWI team has become really familiar with myself and the APS team, but it's just good for me to show you guys that APS Canada has a team behind the curtain. We are really wacky, we're fun, and we love to help our partners and customers grow their businesses. The team is spread throughout North America, and we continue to grow our team and invest in new and exciting developments, you know, as we every year and every day that we continue to be in this line of business. Quickly, I'd just like to review with you guys exactly who we are. So APS has been in business for over a decade. We've grown to now process for thousands of merchants in over 20 countries. We've stayed true to where we started. So we know that growing a business is hard work and takes time, and that's why we never turn away prospective merchants. We process for merchants regardless of volume. Some of them are as small as $2,000 a month, and some are as large as upwards of $20 million a month. And we treat all the accounts the same, with the same level of support. Because of our values, we've really been able to grow. We've been ranked as a top 100 acquirer in the US for credit card processing. We've also been recognized by Inc. 5000 as one of America's fastest growing companies for the last 2 years. And we support over 250 integrations. And like I mentioned before, we're always open to more. We provide 24/7 live support, and this support is based out of our head office, and it's really, you know, some of the most comprehensive and good support that you guys can get from a merchant service provider. Part of that is because we are also a solution provider, so we know everything from the start of a payment all the way to the end. Because of this, we have a 96% recommendation rate, so 96% of our customers like APS and choose to stay with us. And we're always 100% partner-centric, so we work with guys like IWI on a daily basis just to provide us some insight to where your businesses are, what their customers are asking for, and how we can help to better serve. So enough about us. I'd like to jump into some common payment processing challenges. APS exists and presents itself as an educator in the credit card processing industry for a few reasons. Understanding merchant fees can be really confusing. There are key differentiators a business should really be looking for. So number one, not all merchant service providers are able to provide things like level 3 processing for business-to-business heavy organizations. And that's really leaving a lot of money on the table. Often, customer support isn't instantaneous or isn't available 24/7. Even if you do get through to someone, merchants are often treated as just another number. Many merchant service providers still struggle to provide merchants with basic business reporting tools, and it can even be difficult for some merchants to get their hands on their own merchant statements month to month. If you have multiple businesses, a couple locations in the US, a couple in Canada, for example, More than likely, you'll have to deal with separate merchant service providers or different corporate branches. This can result in different levels of customer support and very different pricing models being implemented. The ERP is really the beating heart of the business. So many businesses aren't able to connect their credit card processing to their ERPs effectively, and this results in time spent on duplicate entry and manual process. So this is one of the reasons things can be so confusing for merchants. One thing to keep in mind is that as we go through this, is that different card types call for different acceptance costs. So these are the three examples of common pricing models used by merchant service providers in the industry. So on the left, we have flat rate pricing, often used by companies like Stripe, Square, PayPal. In the middle, we have tiered pricing. This is further broken down into three different buckets: fully qualified, mid-qualified, and non-qualified cards. And on the right-hand side, we have interchange plus, and that's the hard cost of credit card acceptance, which is passed down to you guys, the merchants, plus a small markup percentage. So we'll go through a little bit more depth and give you guys some more understanding of what exactly that is. So flat rate, this one's pretty straightforward. This is often used by companies that I had mentioned before, so Stripe, Square, PayPal. Often it's one of the easiest ways for a merchant to begin accepting credit cards, but it comes at a very high cost. If you have a flat rate of 2.75%, this is regardless of the hard cost Visa and MasterCard are charging for the merchant service provider, for example, APS, for the card acceptance. That means the merchant service provider is not providing transparency on card acceptance breakdowns, and the merchant is blind to any possible cost savings. So you guys have no idea exactly where you guys can save some money in your card acceptance on a day-to-day. More than likely, you guys are being heavily overcharged for most card acceptance. So, for example, things like a Visa or MasterCard corporate card, they might call for a lower rate, a lower hard cost, and APS can pass that down to you automatically. Now, tiered rates. Tiered pricing is by far the most confusing form of pricing from a merchant standpoint. This can be thought of as three separate buckets. So we have fully qualified. So any card that falls into this category it usually receives a very competitive rate for card acceptance. So this is really the rate that they use to kind of lure you guys in and get you attracted to using them for your business. Mid-qualified, it's any card that falls into this category receives an okay rate for card acceptance. It's not necessarily the best rate, but it doesn't really make you, balk at the numbers. And then you have the third bucket, the non-qualified rate. So that's any card that falls into that category receives a very high rate for card acceptance. So this becomes confusing because often merchant service providers that price this way lure in merchants with a very competitive fully qualified rate, like I had mentioned before. However, once the merchant starts processing, there's very little transparency around card type acceptance, and it becomes very difficult for merchants to pinpoint what card types they accept fall into any given pricing category. And then we have Interchange Plus. At APS, we only offer Interchange Plus pricing. This is often the most transparent pricing structure. So you as the merchant will be charged the true rate set for card types, like I had mentioned before. So that's the rates that are set by Visa, MasterCard, Amex, and those rates are really non-negotiable. So regardless of who you're with, Visa, MasterCard, and Amex are charging these merchant service providers that hard cost, regardless of what your pricing structure is. With APS, we pass down that hard cost. So you'll also be charged a small markup, just like every other pricing tier. However, the difference is that APS actually displays our markup for every single transaction on your merchant statement so that you as the merchant know exactly how much your APS is making off of your day-to-day. The benefit there is not only transparency, but with transparency also comes very competitive rates, since we always have merchants like you guys holding us to account and asking us questions about what we're charging you. Level 3 pricing. I know I mentioned this a little bit before, but what is it? Level 3 puts a value on data. Visa and MasterCard provide hard cost discounts to business merchants who are able to transmit 16 different data points back to them. Level 3 transactions typically cost a merchant 0.5% to 1.5% less than a standard Level 1 transaction. That amounts to huge savings for business-to-business companies. In addition, merchants receive detailed reporting that allows them to track transactions from beginning to settlement. Reporting can also be tailored with up to 60 different data points. Level 3 processing is currently not available to our Canadian merchants, and that's regardless of processor, but through our partner in Canada, we're constantly speaking to them about how we can roll out Level 3, and we're projecting for the end of 2019 or the beginning of 2020. So any merchant that chooses to go with APS will automatically get Level 3 pricing when they qualify for it down the road when we actually roll it out. So this is an example of the data that needs to be pushed to Visa and MasterCard to qualify for Level 3 pricing. So APS takes it a step further. With our Sage 300 integration, it allows us to actually pull certain data fields from Sage and remit that data back to Visa and MasterCard automatically when you guys qualify for Level 3 savings. This is an example of an APS merchant statement assessment. So at the top, you can see the tiered structure that I was talking about, and that's the fee structure that this specific merchant is currently paying their existing processor. In the middle, you can see the comparison to APS and the card brand fees, which are clearly stated. And at the bottom, we show the savings. In this case, we were able to save the business about $1,400 a month, or almost $17,000 a year. So that's 30% less than what they were paying previously. Now, imagine what you can do with that cost savings. Maybe you can go for that upgrade of your ERP environment that you had held off on, or maybe you can implement that module that can help you in other parts of your business. So now I'm just going to go through some of APS's key features. So APS provides daily automatic batch reporting. We can process in over 150 currencies if you guys need that. We don't charge merchants for things like installation, maintenance, or setup. And our 24/7 live support is also free, and you guys get the module integration for Sage 300 for free as well. On the technology side, we are constantly innovating. So we provide a 100% PCI compliant gateway, which provides merchants with tokenized data encryption. We are the only Sage 300 integrated solution that can automatically remit Level 3 data back to Visa and MasterCard, meaning that if you guys didn't have that automation, you would actually be sitting there and manually coding those 16 different data points, which can be very time consuming just for that cost savings. APS automates that. We've also recently launched our APS Payments portal, which allows your customers to interact more with you through the web. They can check the statement of their account. They can check any outstanding invoices and pay any outstanding invoices directly through a web portal without having to contact your internal AR support. And we're also able to provide physical terminals if required. So for organizations that have things like mobile sales forces or brick and mortar locations, we can help to provide that as well. So this is one of those things that we're really proud of. So this is that payments portal that I was talking about. So this portal connects directly to your Sage 300 environment and provides your customers the ability to log in to an online web portal and check in real time the statement of their account, recent account activity, and the ability to pay one or many outstanding invoices just with the click of a button. So it just makes it that much easier for you to interact with your clients and possibly collect some payments. We also realize that you may process credit cards outside of your ERP. So in addition to our ERP integrations, we have several e-commerce and mobile solutions. So from an e-commerce standpoint, we have integrations to things like Magento, Shopify, WooCommerce. From a mobile standpoint, we have apps for iOS, Android, and a number of other Sage integrated solutions. So we set ourselves apart even in the gateway. So this slide just really illustrates what you would be getting if you went with a merchant service provider who didn't have their own gateway. So on the left-hand side, you can see a common use case. Many organizations are using Authorized.net where their merchant service provider does not have a gateway. There's usually a setup fee involved. There's usually a $25 monthly gateway fee, and then there's also a daily batch fee that's included there. As you can see on the right-hand side, APS doesn't charge for some of these things. So APS doesn't charge for setup. Our monthly gateway fee is less than our competitors. We don't charge for a daily batch fee, and our transaction fees are comparable. But along with that, you're getting extended value. So you're getting that level 3 processing when it becomes available in Canada. And if you are interested, we can have a discussion around the APS Payments portal. These are some of our endorsed partners. So because of who we are and our relationships throughout North America, we've become really well known across the country, in Canada and the US. And so these are just some of our endorsed partners across North America. We also have some happy APS customers here that I'd like to share with you guys. So some notable customers include the Credit Institute Canada, and that's really one that I like to share often. And also Utah Jazz basketball team. Everyone knows Utah Jazz, so that's also a nice client of ours. Now, I'd like to kind of jump in and share with you guys a case study. So this is one of our really happy Sage 300 customers. So K&K Interiors has been around since 1996 and has become a leader in interior decoration across North America. They really suffered from some challenges that strained their own business growth, and by implementing APS, they've really overcome that. So some of their challenges were previous credit card processing was reliant on manual entry. They were processing over 250 credit cards daily through a physical terminal, which took them 8 hours in labor. There was no integration to Sage 300, which meant manual reconciliation. K&K didn't have reporting or analytics tools through their previous processor, and previous credit card processing was really just a strain on business growth. The solution, they implemented APS Payments for Sage 300, and along with that, they automated the authorization process by using 2 integrations that actually leverage APS with Sage 300. The results, they ended up saving over $40,000 annually in processing fees. They also reduced processing time, admin costs, and increased customer satisfaction. They also improved their cash flow. So you can see just with this case study that this is really one of the best examples of what we can possibly do for you guys. Just to incentivize you guys a little bit more, if you were thinking about it, there's really no loss by trying APS and seeing if we can even save you guys any money. So we have a current challenge. If you guys send us 2 of your most recent merchant statements, then we'll go through an internal review and we'll compare what the costs are, what APS can provide. And if we can't save you guys money, then we'll actually pay you $500 just for the consideration. So we're really confident about our ability to save you money, and usually when we go through these exercises, we come in as a negative cost to all of our merchants. So how do you get started? So like I said, all you really need to do to get started is submit 2 of those most recent merchant statements. We'll walk you through exactly how much we can save you. Implementation usually takes 30 minutes to an hour, and just like that, you can start saving money really quickly with an integrated solution for your Sage 300 environment. So Subu or Sean, can you guys confirm that you can see my Sage 300 environment?
Yes, we can see it.
Perfect. Okay, so on the left-hand column, I just like to point out that APS is built just another module that sits within your Sage 300 environment. So if you're familiar with Sage, it's super easy to navigate to. Now, once you click on that module, we have this landing page here. And this landing page really allows you to process credit cards within Sage. Now, I'll start here in Setup. Now, as I open this, I like to point out these top fields here. These top fields are really the only fields that our internal support staff need to configure when you guys go through the install. And like I said, it usually takes 30 minutes to an hour to actually complete the installation and setup. I also like to point out these two fields down here at the bottom. These are really important. This one here, you can leave it checked on or checked off. This allows you to split AR batches by payment code, so it allows you to see exactly how much you're processing through Visa, MasterCard, Amex on a daily basis if you'd like. Again, you can leave it checked on or checked off. Most merchants I deal with today leave that checked on just because of that reporting. Down here at the bottom, this is that field that really helps us to automate level 3 processing back to Visa and MasterCard. And so this field here, we just fill that out, and it allows us to pull certain data points from your Sage 300 environment around certain transactions and remit them back to Visa and MasterCard on your behalf, just so you guys get that additional savings. So like I mentioned before, APS is the only payment processor in the Sage 300 ecosystem that can provide level 3 processing. Okay, so I'll just jump into our APS customers here. Now, I'm just going to choose Ronald Black as an example. Okay, so when we click on Ronald, what we can see here is that we have a default credit card already set up for Ronald. Certain fields are exposed. So the end user is only able to see the last 4 digits of the credit card and the credit card expiry date. Never will they ever be able to see any of that additional detail around the credit card, making this extremely PCI compliant. There's certain things here that you can change as an end user. For example, address, city, country, a zip code, if you'd like, postal code. And again, we can process in multi-currency, so Canada and US. Okay, now if we click on this magnifier here, what you can see is that we actually have 5 additional credit cards on file for Ronald. So this just allows you as the end user to easily switch between credit cards for any given transaction. Let's say they have a number of personal cards on file or corporate cards on file for any given reason. Now, you can have an unlimited number of credit cards on file for any given customer. Okay? Just cancel out of here, and we'll jump into Add New Card. I like to point out this email field here. This email field allows you to have an email on file for every single credit card that you have on file. So anytime a transaction is created against a credit card, an email will actually be sent to that email address, letting them know that a transaction is being created. Okay? Just cancel out of here, and we can update and we can delete cards very easily. Okay. One of the things that I didn't point out is that when you click on this finder here, you notice that we have all of our Sage 300 clients already set up here. So there's no need for any additional manual effort there. All of your information within your Sage environment will automatically get pulled, and you'll have all of your customers available to you once you set up APS. Okay. Now I'm just going to go through a typical order entry scenario. Now, that's not to say that if you don't have inventory or if you're not a warehouse organization or anything like that, that you can't use APS. We have a lot of nonprofits using us, a lot of organizations in the hospitality industry using us, so you don't necessarily need a product, but this is just a typical use case. Okay? So in an order entry scenario, what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose Ronald again. And let's say that Ronald is opening up a new office and he needs 20 new desk lamps. So we're just going to go through and we're going to do 20. And this screen, this OE screen, should be exactly the same as what you're familiar with from your Sage 300 order entry screen. The only difference is that APS has built in this APS credit card payment button here. And this button's not active right now, but this is what allows us to process credit cards within Sage. So once I click Post here, I'm not going to print because this is a demo. This button becomes active. So I'll just click on this button, and then this little screen pops up. Now, anywhere that you find this button within your Sage 300 environment, you can access this screen. This is the nuts and bolts of the system. So you can access any of those credit cards that are already on file for Ronald. We can add a new card on the fly if we need to. Very simple, very easy. We can update cards if needed. We can change the transaction amount if required. We can pre-authorize the transaction, or we can make the sale. Okay? So we're just going to go through and we're going to pre-authorize the transaction. And as we're doing this, all of this information is flowing through the APS gateway and the APS vaulted system, just making sure that all the credit card information is correct. Now, if there was any issues, let's say the postal code was off, the last 4 digits of the card were off, or the credit card expiry date was off, it would actually come back with an error and allow you as the end user to go back and make the required changes. Okay? So we'll just click OK here. And we built this nice transaction history, and this transaction history stays with the transaction for the life of it. So it gives you a nice audit trail throughout. Okay? We'll just close here. We're going to ship, and then we're going to post. And we're not going to print because this is a demo. Now, to complete a pre-authorized transaction, you have to go into this OE invoice entry screen. Now, it's very simple, very easy. All we have to do is go in and find Ronald again, and then we look for that shipment. So we'll just click on this magnifier, and here we have the shipment from today's date. We'll just open this up, and here we have those fluorescent desk lamps. Now, down here at the bottom, we have that APS credit card payment button again. So if I click on that, this screen pops up, and it allows you to complete that sale or void out that transaction completely. Okay? But in certain jurisdictions, you might be able to change the transaction amount depending on, let's say, if the shipping cost was higher than what was anticipated. In Canada, you're not really allowed to do that, but if you do have a location down in the U.S. that needs to do that, or in another jurisdiction, we can have that conversation. Okay? Just to complete this transaction, I'm just going to make the sale, and I'm going to click yes. And again, as we're doing this, all of this information is flowing through our own proprietary gateway system and our vaulted environment, making everything 100% PCI compliant and making sure that all the information is correct. So here we have the OE invoice entry has been posted, and we have this receipt batch list here. Click OK, and we have that sale. So there's no further outstanding amount on this transaction, and we're good to go. That's all you have to do. Now, if you are creating invoices through accounts receivable directly, you can always do that through the receipt batch list, and you can open that up and you can create invoices that way, or you can refer to previously created invoices and pay them through credit card as well if that's required. Okay? So that's really it for the demo for today. Sean, do you have any questions on your end?
Yeah, there's a couple that came through actually on the chat. One question is, I have a client who would like to pay their bills online. APS support that?
Yeah, so APS can support that in a couple different ways. So like I mentioned before, we can support e-commerce integrations. So if they have a web store, we can help support credit card processing that way. But as well, through our new APS Payments portal, it can really help to provide some levity there on a web-based platform for clients to pay online.
Okay, there's a couple more questions, and we still have a few minutes, so if anybody else has any questions, please put them in the chat as well. And so the other question is, can APS support organizations with multiple locations, both in Canada and the U.S.?
Yep. So APS can definitely do that. We also support organizations in Australia, New Zealand, the UK, and Europe. So if ever you guys grow and need some support that way, I know that we provide support to certain clients overseas as well.
Okay. Another question just came in. It's more about just a little bit uncomfortable storing clients' credit card details. They want to know how safe APS is.
Yeah, so none of the credit card detail information is stored on your Sage 300 environment. It's all stored within the APS gateway environment. So it's all held on our own servers, which are cloud-based encrypted bank-level security. So you as the organization have no real liability in maintaining credit cards.
Okay, and it looks like we had two more to come in. Since the module is free, is there any cost to set up APS?
Yeah, so there's absolutely no cost to set up APS. Like I mentioned, typically we come in as a negative cost. So that can help to save you guys some money. And what we usually do with clients is we speak to them about other projects, and we do that with the business partner. And traditionally, most clients use that savings to go and grow the business in other ways.
Okay, and then there's another question here. If I have staff that use APS and they decide to leave, is there additional cost to train them?
No. So if you have staff that were trained today and let's say 2 years down the road, they decide to leave and move organizations, we're happy to provide training free for the life of the account. And even if that staff member is still around and maybe they need a refresher, we're happy to provide training at any point just to give some additional insight if needed.
Okay. So I don't think there's any more questions. If anybody has a question, please get it in the chat real quick. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up. And it doesn't look like anything else is coming in, Devin. So I'd like to thank everybody for attending, first of all, and Devin for presenting this to our Sage 300 clients.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Sean, and thanks everyone for joining.